The idea of sacrifice is innate in our position vis-a-vis God. It's right that when we sin, someone has to die. The wages of sin is death. So when people sin, make mistakes, or even if they're just thankful to God for the miracle of creation from the seed of the land, or the miracle of the creation of the animal world, it's right that they would express that appreciation of God with or without sin. If somebody has to die for sin, why not then offer an animal in place of oneself? And that's the sacrificial idea of atonement which pervades the Bible. The ultimate sacrifice then for sin, of course, is Jesus. Abel and Cain, I don't know exactly why, but God must have told them. It doesn't say that specifically. But you see, the Bible says very little or nothing about certain subjects. And I would answer that point by saying we have made enough chaos out of the 66 books of the Bible we already have. We don't need any more. I simply know that the one offering was acceptable, the other wasn't. And it was to do with the attitude of the offerer. So it's no good sacrificing to God or giving thanks to God if one is not in tune with God's great immortality plan. I would call that the gospel. God's story. We hear a great deal on the news about stories. Everybody has his or her story. Governments have their stories. Parties in the government have their stories. But God has his story, which in terms of my Church of England experience, the first 20 years of my life, I honestly had no idea about this. It was only when somebody showed me a Bible, I saw the ultimate point of God's story, and that is that the world would be at peace, that the nations would be beating their swords into plowshares. That hasn't happened. So as we go on our way towards that ideal, that destiny, obviously sin has to be dealt with. Well, what if blood then is the symbol of life, as it certainly is? You don't live without blood, and you die with the loss of blood. So the ultimate thing that you can give is your blood, your life. And that's what's being done either by laying hands on an animal and offering an animal sacrifice, or by the sinless offering of Jesus, shedding his blood in our place as a substitute for us, thus making it possible for God to say, I see the repentant heart of these people. I'll accept my son as sacrifice. Yes, blood must be shed for the remission of sins. That's what it says in Hebrews. There is no remission of sins. There's no going back on sin, no forgiveness of sin, no wiping out of sin, no expiation of sin. And one might also add the idea of appeasing the wrath of God, as Phinehas once did, as Moses did, as Abraham begged God to intervene and not kill the people. That element certainly is in the atonement of Jesus also, I think, all of which points then to the ultimate sacrifice that's made when blood is shed. And God accepts that then in place of the death of the sinners.